Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad. You are looking at a live telemetry view from Flight Radar 24 as Virgin Galactic has taken off from Spaceport, America, and is tracking towards their fourth commercial spaceflight mission. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at the Launchpad, here at TLP Network. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you joining us here live today. Virgin Galactic's White Knight 2, their carrier spacecraft, has taken off from Spaceport, America, and you're looking at a live 3D and 2D map tracking view through flight telemetry. Currently now 14,725 feet, going up just under 5,000 feet per minute, heading up to that cruising altitude in preparation for today's flight. If it's your first time here, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview through both our two channels, the Launchpad and the Launchpad News. Also, take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We'll give some shout-outs here. If it's your first time, make sure to let us know that in the chat as well. And if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us as we are tracking about 30 to 40 minutes from actual drop. We will be watching Virgin Galactic's White Knight 2 as it creates a couple of racetracks over Spaceport, America as they get up to the altitude that they need to for today's flight. We'll keep a close eye on that track. Currently, they're flying a similar route to what we've seen before. On your right side of your screen, you do see that VGX-05 coming in and out of your view there. That is actually the telemetry for the spacecraft. We will be following that closely as we get up to the actual launch altitude. Right now, those two vehicles are, of course, paired together, now passing through 19,000 feet, going up about 3,700 feet per minute. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the Launchpad. We got lots of people tuning in. We got Michael from Daytona Beach, Florida. We've got David in the DC metro area. We got Stratopaster in Pennsylvania. AJ's in England. We got Timothy in Montgomery, Alabama. Great to have you. Claudie, I hope I'm saying that right, is in Orlando. Great to have you here. We have Pakistan's watching, Indiana's watching, Netherlands, Washington. Great to have you all here. Now, the big question I know many are asking is, will we get to have a live view for today's view? No, we will not. Virgin Galactic has chosen again to not live broadcast their launch coverage. We will be getting updates from them via X, and we will work on patching those into the best of our ability throughout today's stream as we get those updates. But unfortunately, we will be having to live with just the telemetry views provided by the aircraft's requirements of having to broadcast their positions. We are able, with those telemetries, to have a really good track on what's actually happening, though, as these are live telemetries sent out to the pilots via the air traffic control data systems. So we are seeing this live data as they continue. You're seeing a couple more planes showing up in the area. One of these will be a chase plane. Looks like there's a second plane that might have taken off. Maybe we're seeing two chase planes here this evening. We'll keep... Oh, that's the Galactic. Okay. Yeah, so they got a couple planes taken off from Spaceport, America for today's flight as the vehicle is flying up to the altitude that is required for launch. As always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. We will work on answering those live to the best of our ability as we continue through today's flight. On the left side of your screen, that is a top-down aerial view over the satellite image map of the positioning of the flight here today. Just keeping a close eye on the updates coming in from Virgin Galactic. We've yet to have confirmation of that takeoff video as of yet, but as we can see it on the telemetry, it is already in the air, and we do know that. I wanted just to correct one thing that I said there. I said White Knight 2. They can now call it VMS Eve, and the spacecraft is VSS Unity. That is what is flying here today. So quick correction on that. On Flight Radar, they still have it listed as White Knight 2. They haven't updated that. So we will be following both Eve and Unity as they go for today's flight with the crew on board. Of course, there's more than just the 3 crew members that are flying today. There is, of course, Virgin Galactic's crew. We do know a little bit about the passengers very little, about who the passengers are on today's flight, but we will be following that closely to get those updates as they do come in. We do know that there are 2 pilots that are piloting VSS Unity, as well as we have the crew of VMS Eve, which is a double cockpit carrier aircraft that Unity hangs from. Unity will separate from Eve at about 50,000 feet in preparation of firing its rocket engine, carrying it up to suborbital mission. The unknown Protogen is asking, what is the purpose of this mission? This is another commercial space flight. So this is a suborbital mission. We'll carry 3 more passengers up above the not above the Kármán line, but up towards space, where they will get to experience zero gravity for a couple of minutes before they glide back down to Spaceport America. Arend is asking, are there passengers or do they do science as well? There is the plans that they can do science missions on these. I don't believe we've seen them do science recently. We did it in some of the earlier test flights. They'd have some equipment kind of strapped into them, or they'd have a box of equipment. They do have the ability to put in kind of like a rack of scientific equipment instead of a chair, and we've seen them do that in the past. But right now they are limited more to just having the 4 seats. So they have 3 passengers, and then they have the astronaut trainer that flies with them. I believe Beth Moses is back on board for this flight, going for her 5th or 6th flight on Virgin Galactic, so she's ranking up her flights. Short, but I'm sure just as enjoyable, especially getting to do one every month or so. This is if I'm correct, the 4th mission we've seen now, back-to-back, one a month, which is what Virgin Galactic's targets were this year. They do early next year hope to transition to fly 4 passengers without an astronaut trainer on board. Cooper the dog asking a really important question. If they would abort the release, what would happen? They would just fly back to Spaceport America. So the spacecraft would be securely attached to the mothership, and they would be able to just fly back, and then they would just do the reverse of what they did getting in, and they'd all come out. So it is totally safe and secure. That is why we see them do these racetracks. So you'll see them do at least one full racetrack above Spaceport America before they go for that flight attempt, and that's because they need to get to altitude. They are currently passing through 32,000 feet, but they also need to make sure that everything has checked out in the air in preparation for flight. As Dave says, there is no escape system, but basically the vehicle is the escape system itself. Biggest thing with the flight here and with their spacecraft Unity is that once it fires that engine is burning, and they are heading up. They then have to be able to be released in a very specific area because they actually have a cone that they have to maintain their flight in, and that cone is basically their glide slope on how they can safely and maneuver Unity as it flies back to Spaceport America. This is one of the reasons there was that very long investigation after the first flight with Richard Branson on board, because they actually did hit a number of abort criteria, and unfortunately technically did leave their airspace during that flight, left that cone. They did get back to the runway, no problem, but it was a violation of some of that. So we saw a longer investigation into that before we saw Virgin Galactic come back. But great question. Thanks for sending that in. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view of the tracking of Virgin Galactic's Galactic 04 mission as we continue to track towards flight. We're waiting for updates from Virgin Galactic as things continue, and we do have now a video from Virgin Galactic showing the takeoff that we saw happen. Well, where are we at? About 12 minutes ago, we had that flight takeoff. So we will be keeping a close eye on further updates from them. Last time that we had a flight like this, they did give us a tiny bit of a heads up on when they were hoping to target for that drop release of the spacecraft, and if we're able to put a countdown clock up on the screen, we will. But as they do these racetracks, it is a little bit harder for us to actually be able to perfectly confirm when they'll be doing so. But we'll do the best of our ability for that. But we appreciate you guys bearing with us as we try to bring you the coverage of today's flight. Excited to bring you what we can for Virgin Galactic's Galactic 04 mission. We do know one of the 3 passengers on board will be the first person flying from Pakistan up to near space. I believe there's another American on board, and I'm trying to confirm who the third one was. We're expecting to have confirmation fully of who these people are post-flight. And we're going to bring up a view here on your screen. This was taken moments ago at Spaceport America, this being released by Virgin Galactic, showing the takeoff of the mothership, VMS Eve, carrying VSS Unity up on its mission. Here's that live view from that flight. You can see some of the invited guests tonight, or to this morning, excuse me, Spaceport America. I know Cyan Proctor's there watching one of her friends fly. It is quite limited who is able to attend these events, but we hope that we'll be able to be down there in the future to actually bring you full live coverage of one of these flights in the future there. You can see a few planes on the radar there. We're keeping a track on all of those as they continue towards flight here today. Back to the 3D view. This is a 3D view generated through Flight Radar 24, showing what the mothership and spacecraft would be flying right now. That second plane kind of coming into view on the right side of your screen, VGX-05, that would actually be the spaceship itself, VMS Unity, as they are still currently paired together. We do see that there are a couple other planes in the area. These generally are the chase planes. One might still be on the ground, and the other looks like it's in the air as well. So we are keeping a close eye on both of those. Really great question coming in from Wuffle. Last month, the return trajectory seemed pretty brutal. Looks like a roller coaster. Is it a planned trajectory, or the pilot's just told to take any route, which slows it down? So it would be planned. Obviously, it is a piloted craft, so they do have that manual control and will fly it the safest way to do so. We know with the spacecraft coming down so fast, we'll see it separate on the radar, and then we will lose tracking of it for a few minutes while it goes up, does its mission, and then we'll regain it. But because of the speed it's coming in, we do tend to see some kind of almost lags in the radar that eventually it just drops off the radar and it keeps it going when it's actually landed. So we will keep a close eye on that this time, try to get you the most accurate information there of that flight as we track them. Currently now passing through 39,000 feet. in altitude. Drop altitude is about 50,000, so they're more than halfway up to that flight, but you're seeing them start these racetrack maneuvers, and this is for them doing all final checkouts of both the mothership and the spaceship in preparation for today's flight. But going back to the question from, not Wuffle, Wuffy, I think it is. Excuse me. It is, obviously, it's a manual operation, but they've planned this, they've tested this, they've rehearsed and trained and actually done this before. It's a previously flown crew, so they know what they're doing and what it is. But you have to remember, they're coming down quite fast. When they come down, they feather, and then they glide down. But for a while, they are technically almost in a re-entry fall. So that is why you see it look a little bit reared on radar, is because they're dropping quite a bit of altitude in a very short distance. And while they do that, they do make turns, and that's why it looks a little more roller coastery. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. You are looking at live radar tracking of both VSS Eve and VMS Unity. Both the mothership and spacecraft have taken off paired together as we count down towards the fourth commercial flight of Virgin Galactic. Virgin Galactic, again, choosing not to broadcast today's launch, but we will be keeping a close eye on that. As a programming note, it is definitely a launch day, which means you can use promo code LAUNCHDAY over on the TLP shop. Get 10% off of everything there. Great opportunity to get something for Christmas to give your loved ones. And we've still got, obviously, some time that you can order and guarantee arrival for Christmas. But today is not one launch, not two, not three, but 4 launches happening today. It's been a while since we've had one of these days, and we will be bringing you full live coverage of those. First, we have Virgin Galactic's Galactic 4. That's what you're here for us right now. We are counting down T-minus 2 hours, 11 minutes and counting until the launch of Project Kuiper 1, Amazon's competitor to Starlink. The first flight of 2 prototypes of their new satellites for their new constellation will be launching on an Atlas V from Slick 41 Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. We hope that you will join us live for that. Then later in the day, finally, after a number of months' delay, PLD Space out of Spain will be attempting to launch their Mira 1 test flight. That is 8 hours, 11 minutes from now. We hope you'll join us live for that. And then to round out the evening, we do have the return of Vega with Arianespace, launching Theos 2, Triton, and some others, launching out of Crew in the French Guiana. We're counting down L-minus 9 hours, 46 minutes to that flight. So we hope you will join us for those. As always, if you want to know about what launches are coming up, you can head over to tlpnetwork.com/launches. That is where our brand new Launch Control Center is available, where you can see featured launches, all upcoming launches around the world. You can filter. You can also go look at previous launches. And every day we spotlight a random mission throughout history. Today's spotlight is the Zenit 4MK-4B mission. That was part of the Soviet space program that launched out of Kazakhstan in 1975. If you're interested in becoming part of the TLP crew to help us continue to expand these mission briefings, bringing you the most data on each of these missions, consider hitting that About button and applying to join as part of our crew. We are looking to bring on a few more volunteers onto our TLP News crew, as well as our research crew, as we continue to bring you the best possible coverage of everything space from around the world. We're excited to invite a few more of you onto the team as we continue to expand those teams. So if you're a student or an engineer and you got some free time and you're interested in getting some experience in the news side of the space industry and maybe getting to attend actually launches, factory tours, and more, consider applying to join our crew today. But you're here for Galactic 4. That's what we're watching on your screen. We're keeping a close track on that plane, as you can really see it doing that racetrack, having taken off from Spaceport, America. You can see how the airspace is mainly cleared, other than those couple of chase planes that are in the area. Again, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us as we continue to count down towards flight. At this point, I would estimate we're anywhere from about 20 minutes or so from actual release. but we'll be keeping a close eye on that as we continue to see these racetracks be done by the mothership. Ricky Powell asking, any closer to finding a location across the pond yet? Are you meaning for the tour we're going to be doing? Or which were you... What? I believe you're probably hinting at what we post on social media. Super excited. I'll be coming across the pond over to the UK as well as Europe. We've got a bunch of really exciting things lined up we can't really tell you about yet, but once we can, of course we will. Our members, of course, will find out first via our Discord, but we will be doing some member-only meetups and some public meetups throughout the UK and Europe throughout the winter and early spring, so I hope that I'll get to see many of you out there. Excited to come across for the first time in a rather long time, and there's lots of exciting things happening in Europe as the space industry really starts to bloom, and we're excited to bring you some of that coverage as we expand our coverage to try to bring you the best possible coverage of everything happening in the UK and Europe, as there really is so much. We've been working with our team on plans how to bring you that coverage, lots of events to cover over there, conferences, interviews, factory tours, launch site visits, and some maiden flights happening possibly even by the end of this year. Richard Blanson's playing Flight Simulator. That is what it feels like, isn't it? Does definitely feel like we're playing Flight Simulator. But luckily, we're not, because I'm not very good at landing in that. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here. Virgin Galactic's carrier plane, VMS Eve, took off about 20 minutes ago from Spaceport, America, with 3 passengers and the astronaut trainer on board, preparing for their 4th commercial flight. We're waiting for them to actually get into that final racetrack position in preparation for today's flight drop. Currently, they're at 44,350 feet. They're increasing just under 1,000 feet a minute. The target altitude for launch is 50,000. And quick correction, there we have 2 different altitudes. We have 44,525 feet is the GPS altitude. Their barometric altitude is 42,700 feet. So we do have a slight differentiation in those numbers, but we'll keep a close eye on that. Flight Tracker is using the barometric one, so coming up to 43,000 feet at this time, leveling off a little bit as they continue to do this first part of this racetrack. Benjamin, is it still possible to win tickets in the future? For Virgin Galactic flights, or for which? If you're just joining us, though, welcome. Take a moment, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. Really good question came in from Jonathan. Is that plane a placeholder for White Knight? Yes, it most definitely is. White Knight does not look like that. So very good question there. I will bring up a picture here of what White Knight actually looks like in just a second so you can see that. But it definitely does not look like that vehicle. It is a twin-bodied craft that the space plane actually can hang in between. So it's quite a unique vehicle that they have. And we'll bring up a picture here. Virgin Galactic released this just a couple of days ago. This was a view of their flight crew with it still in the hangar. So the cockpit tubes you see on the left and the right, those are of the main ship. And then the cockpit spacecraft you see in the middle is actually VMS Unity, which is the spacecraft itself. So it's a double body, that was the word I was looking for, a double-bodied plane with a singular body spacecraft. You can see there the flight crew in preparation just a couple of days ago. So fortunately, Flight Radar does not have a 3D model of what the craft looked like. But hopefully one day, that would be great. Lots of people just joining in. We got Sidewalk is in the Netherlands. We got Liam in Ireland. We got Dawn in Thailand. We got Russia. Orange is in Sweden. Excited to come over there. We got John in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Rye Davis is in Clearwater, Florida. Great to have you here. Dagger checking in from Port Canaveral. Great to have you here. You guys have a flight later today. The first flight of Amazon's competitor missions for compared to Starlink. The first 2 prototypes finally being launched. Dodgy's in the UK. Williams in Ontario, Canada. We got Paul in Michigan. Danny is from Belgium. We got Jonathan in Boston, I'm assuming? I don't know. Pedro is in Portugal. Welcome. The Mads in Germany. We got Ayush from Purdue University. Great to have you here. If you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. We're continuing to track today's flight. VSS Unity and VMS Eve, currently 44,250 feet. Going up only about 60 feet per minute at this time. They're going through those final checkouts. You can see on the left side of your screen, we'll have to zoom out here one more time. This is where they took off from at Spaceport America. So they're doing this very large racetrack. They'll come back around and everything's good. When they fly over, that's when they'll release and drop. Now, if they need to they'll do one more racetrack. That's what we used to see them do before. They do one more racetrack. But then they started doing these wider flight paths. So it might be that they're able to do all the checkouts. So when they come over the first time, that is when they can actually do the drop. But we're keeping an eye on that and waiting for confirmation from Virgin Galactic. But if you're just joining us, take a moment, engage that like button. Let's see if we can hit 1,000 likes before launch. Share out the stream, invite people to join us as we continue to track both the mothership and spacecraft for today's flight. Unfortunately, Virgin has decided once again to not provide live coverage for today's flight. But we do hope to have some live views some video feeds sent by them closer to the mission. Last time they released a video of the drop about 2 minutes into the flight, and then we had a video of touchdown a few minutes following. Today we have Commander Kelly and pilot CJ on board VMS Unity, as well as Chief Astronaut Instructor Beth Moses, as well as 3 passengers on board. We do know one of those passengers is the first person to fly from Pakistan. I believe there's another American on board, and I'm blanking who the third one was. We did see it listed somewhere, but once again, Virgin Galactic being quite quiet with who's flying on board here today. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those live. You can see that VMS Eve starting to curve back around a little bit here. Currently at 44,225 feet. Continuing to increase in altitude, 250 feet per minute, coming up to 45,000 feet. Aditya, do you have a hot dog model? I'm sure it can represent better with the buns as the launcher and the sausage as the plane. That is incredible because I've never thought of that. That's a really funny idea. Yeah, I mean, in a way that would work. No, unfortunately, no hot dog models today. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. About 30 minutes ago, Virgin Galactic took off from Spaceport America. They've been flying up to their drop altitude. Currently traveling 349 knots, coming just over 44,000 feet. They're kind of staying at that altitude. Alex, that is awesome if that is your cousin on board. That's super awesome. Trevor being one of the three on the crew here today. I know we did see some of the crew posting pictures, and if I'm correct, he was from the UK. That was the third country on board here. But yeah, Alex, when you hear from him, give him all our best. Congratulations as well. If he's interested in talking about his experience, we'd love to sit down with him so you can get let him know to reach out. Love to know what his experience was like. Hope to be able to fly on Eve one day. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. Robert, does the spaceship have its own transponder? It does. So we are tracking both VSS Unity and the mothership on ours. The right screen, the big 3D view on your screen, that is the mothership. The telemetry we're tracking on the left side of your screen, that is from the spacecraft itself, VSS Unity. Currently, they're still paired, and on the 3D view, that's why you see that rectangle come flying through the screen sometimes. The telemetry just has a slight delay sometimes, and that's why we see it kind of cut into the view. But we can adjust that telemetry. You're seeing them loop back around. They're going to start to curve and come straight towards Spaceport America. If things are good, they may actually go for a drop on this first flight. We have not had any more information from Virgin Galactic as of yet. But we are keeping a close eye on that, and the moment we have confirmation of if they have a targeted drop, we will let you know. That's one of the things that's interesting about this, and was interesting with like Virgin Orbit, and we'll see with some other flights in the future, with like Hello 1 and 2, that they get up to a cruising altitude and then they drop from there. They don't actually launch per se from the ground. So sometimes T0s are a little bit different, especially if they're not having to target a specific orbit or like the space station. They are able to actually do multiple flights, loops, before they actually go for launch. And Joe Dog there, update from ULA. Yep, fueling operations have been initiated. They started fueling Atlas a few days ago, but for today, the final launch fueling operations have begun. A great sign. It is not only one, not two, not three, but 4 launches happening today. We got one from New Mexico, we have one from Florida, one from Spain, and one from Kourou in the French Guiana. 4 different locations, 4 different spacecrafts, 4 different agencies, and only 1 crewed mission. But quite exciting to see. You can see there both the mothership and other have turned back around, and you're going to see it here very shortly on the 3D view. You can see the Spaceport America coming back into view from the 3D view. You can see Gal 08 and the other one. Those are chase planes with their transponders on. But looks like so we might have actually 2 vehicles up. But where those took off, that is Spaceport America, straight to the south of the mothership. They are lining up just like they normally will for a release. This is a really good sign. As we do not have an actual T0 for launch right now, normally we wait for those last minutes. We're going to say, let's do our go, no go in the chat now, as we could just be moments away from release of VSS Unity. Woofy from Spain, what is that? It sounds interesting. It is a first test flight of, it's a rocket called Mura from PLD Space. They're located in Spain. If you head over to tlpnetwork.com/launches, you can see it on our launch center. We do have a mission briefing up with a little bit of information. We're still building out some more info on them. But as always, as we get into the final minutes, hopefully before launch, we'll do that go, no go in the chat for launch, but we'll be keeping an eye waiting for confirmation from Virgin Galactic on whether they will go for a drop on this attempt or whether they will be going for a next flight. But we're keeping a very close eye on the two telemetries. Right now, both aircraft are traveling 304 knots, 44,375 feet, fluctuating just a little bit there. We're going to keep a close eye on that because what we do is we see the plane pull up, and then we will see the the speed of VSS Unity pick up very quickly before we actually lose it on the telemetry. If you haven't yet, take a moment and engage that like button. It really does help us out. See if we can maybe get to 500 likes, 1,000 likes before launch. As we said earlier, if you are interested in joining the TLP crew as a moderator, as a journalist, as a researcher, take a moment, consider filling in an application. We'd be excited to welcome a few more of you onto our TLP crew. Great opportunity to get some experience helping work in the space industry because we believe that space is better together. Keeping a very close eye on those altitudes as well as speeds, now traveling 310 knots. Still maintaining that 44,000 up to 44,500 feet altitude. But we are coming straight back towards Spaceport America. Again, no updates from... Okay, we had an update from Virgin Galactic saying VMS Eve is currently taking Unity to a release altitude, at which point the spaceship will be released and the rocket motor ignited. This is where the magic happens. Sounds like they may be going for that release here today on this direct line this time, not going for a second loop. We'll keep a very close eye, but if that is true, we are within just a couple of minutes of launch of VSS Unity on its 4th commercial mission. Its 9th flight, I believe it is, actually here today. Keeping a very close eye on those telemetries. Currently traveling 308 knots, 44,000, just under 44,500 feet. We see that drop occur anywhere up to 50,000. That is normally the target. You can see those two chase planes down by Spaceport America. And Ricky, 5th flight of 2023. That is correct. Any point now, we are keeping a very close eye on the telemetry here, awaiting possible release of VSS Unity above Spaceport America. On the right side of your screen, we'll continue to track the mothership. The left side of your screen, that telemetry will track the spacecraft, and you'll see the mothership veer away on the 2D view as it clears the area once we have release. But we have not seen this yet, but we will be standing by to watch that happen imminently as we get closer to the range here, coming back over Spaceport America. That looks like a steep pull-up to me. now increasing 6,500 feet per minute. This should be what we're looking for. We have a ground speed, and we have release of VSS Unity. We do have release now traveling. You can see the mothership starting to veer to the right. The main spacecraft looking, it's veered away, and we have separation. VSS Unity now 62,000 feet and increasing. Mothership maintaining 47,000 feet, stabilizing. The main spacecraft has now dropped off telemetry. You can see there, we'll zoom in on it, the separation. 3 new passengers flying on Virgin Galactic up to near space. This mission takes about 10 to 12 minutes. The mothership now veering away. That's what we'll keep an eye on the right side. But on the left side of your screen, we are tracking the location of the spacecraft. It will separate off of the telemetry as it increases in its altitude, which it looks like it has done already. We lost it at 62,000 feet, but we will be awaiting to regain telemetry from that ship once it returns back. Mothership now clearing the area, the space area, to provide a safe re-entry zone for VSS Unity. 1 commander, a pilot, the astronaut trainer, and 3 passengers now going up to the space. They'll experience 3 to 4 minutes of zero gravity before having to strap back in. We're still waiting for confirmation from Virgin Galactic of release, but we have confirmation via telemetry. We're going to zoom our view out here on the left side. So right here, the one we're tracking, that's the last location we had for the spacecraft, and this is the mothership veering away, clearing the area. Once we have reacquisition of signal of VSS Unity, this will ping over, and we'll have that new position and speed. We expect to regain that in the next couple of minutes. If you have questions, keep sending those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those. We're waiting for more confirmation from Virgin Galactic on today's flight. But we do have confirmation, if you're just joining us, that we have had a launch of VSS Unity with 3 new passengers on board. The first person from Pakistan, another American, and another UK citizen flying on board Virgin Galactic. If you enjoy space, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage here on the launch pad. This is the first of 4 launches here today. Also, consider joining us over on the TLP Discord. It's free to join us, and we hope that we can invite you to be part of our community there, because space is better together. See some people, no live views, yet Virgin Galactic for the second time has chosen not to provide live views of a flight, but because they are flying aircraft in U.S. airspace, they are required to have transponders. So we are able to pull that data from both vehicles. The mothership has veered away. As you can see, it's heading back to the north now. We're waiting for reacquisition of signal from VSS Unity once it has completed its flight. So you can see the mothership off there. But this is the spacecraft. We are waiting to see reacquisition of that signal. We can zoom this in, and you can actually see Spaceport America just to the bottom right of your screen. Where that white line is, that's where the loss of signal has happened. This is the estimated trajectory that it was on. Obviously, going up to space be slightly different, but we are keeping close eye on that, waiting for that reacquisition of signal. And they've removed that tracking line as it's been gone off the radar for a few minutes here. So we're waiting for that reacquisition. Last altitude we saw it at was 62,000 feet. That was during the launch moment. Once it passes through that, that's where flight radar does drop out. So aircraft don't generally go above that. And waiting reacquisition of signal. See that dotted line coming back, and we've got a red line. We're now saying 61,900 feet. We might be getting data sent back from VSS Unity. We're waiting for an updated ground speed. And we're now at 56,000 feet. So yes, it is descending back down. We're still waiting for a ground speed at this point. Currently going 66 knots, 50,000 feet, and descending. VSS Unity has returned and is now making its way back to, excuse me, let me back that on the screen there, getting its way back to Spaceport America. 42,000 feet. VSS Unity now below the altitude of its mothership, VMS Eve, beginning its journey back, now traveling 322 knots, the same speed as its mothership, 38,850 feet. This time, this is when that aircraft will feather and glide back to Spaceport America, as it does not have any engines on it. Watching that telemetry there of the spacecraft coming back. Now 34,000 feet. Get that back on the telemetry there for you guys. Sorry about that. And we're going to switch actually off of the mothership, and we will switch back to the 3D view of the spacecraft here. So again, just a placeholder image. But this will show you what the crew on board are seeing and experiencing as they are flying back. But from everything we can tell, that is a successful mission. They're now at 31,000 feet, flying right over Spaceport America, you can see. Doing a direct pass over the runway, kind of like a low flyby. Now, this is where we did have the change in telemetry last time on if they actually did land on a flight or if they just did a flyby. You can see one of the chase planes there passing by. So VGX-05, that is VSS Unity's tracking. It's going off to the right, but we expect that to do a loop around and land. That's what we've seen before, but we are waiting for confirmation from Virgin Galactic that touchdown has occurred. Still no confirmation from Virgin Galactic on any part of today's flight, other than that they were heading up to the release altitude 13 minutes ago. We've yet to have confirmation of deployment. Okay, you can see them looping around. Obviously, based on wind conditions, that'll affect how they glide back to Spaceport America. You can see them actually going to the north this time. A little bit different than what we've seen in the past where they've gone to the south, but that's all based on wind conditions. Now at 25,000 feet and descending, 24,500 feet. You can see them starting to do another loop around as they continue to head back towards Spaceport America. 23,000 feet and descending. $22,000 feet. $20,800 feet. Descending continues. Still no statement from Virgin Galactic. 20,000 feet. Remember, they have no engine on board VSS Unity, so they have to bleed off their speed as well as their altitude safely to be able to glide back to Spaceport America. Readjust that telemetry there. There we go. The colors that you see changing, that's showing the change in the altitude. Now 17,800 feet, continuing to descend back. I'm Zawar. Is there zero gravity at 80 kilometers? Yes. You can get zero gravity at 40,000 feet. It all depends on your speed and your the way you're throwing thrust and speed and everything around. It's all well choreographed to do it. That's how we do zero G flights. But the higher you're up, the longer you can do zero G for. Where if you do it at like 40,000 feet down to 20,000 feet in parabolas, it's limited to about 30 seconds. VSS Unity now at 14,000 feet, continuing to descend back to Spaceport America. I'd expect it to do a final loop here prior to its landing. Benjamin, so once they burn the fuel, there's no more fuel to fly. It only has a rocket engine. It does not have an air-breathing engine, so it has no way to provide any more thrust to the spacecraft once it is launched. The mothership's fine. It operates like a plane. But for the spacecraft, it does not have the ability to fly further. That is why it has to stay in a cone of airspace, because if they go outside that cone, they might not be able to make it back to Spaceport America. DG, they might not want to because of stocks. It's been very interesting watching some of these space companies. Some broadcast a launch and their stocks go down when the launch works and up when it doesn't. Some don't broadcast, some do broadcast. It's all hit and miss. We are working to try to get a crew out there in the future to bring you live views. We don't actually have to be at Spaceport America to do so. But we will be hoping to do that in the future. If you do happen to live in the area, interested in being a rocket chaser as part of TLP Network, definitely reach out. We do have the equipment for it. We just need some people actually on site. Because some of these, we only get a couple of days' notice. So helps if we have someone local and not someone across the ocean. VSS Unity now below 8,200 feet, continuing to descend. I would say this is probably going to be its last pass as it comes in for landing. 7,900 feet, descending. You can see it turning around there. You can actually see one of the chase planes really quite uptight next to, you can see it there, it's like passing right around VSS Unity. So definitely coming in for a landing, getting some close-up aerial shots. Hopefully we'll have some beautiful new photos released in the coming days and weeks from the spacecraft's return. VSS Unity now 7,100 feet, continuing to descend, traveling 190 knots. Does need to turn one more time. Now, based on what happened last time, we'll keep an eye on this. But what happened last time when they did this, when they got below those few thousand feet, is they actually landed and the telemetry kept it going off screen on a straight line. So we'll wait for confirmation of touchdown, but it is possible that that has occurred at this time, but we do not have confirmation of that just yet. The fact that it's into a very straight line, I would beg to say we have had touchdown, but we will wait for confirmation from Virgin Galactic of touchdown of VSS Unity following its 4th commercial mission. We finally have video of the release from earlier today, so we're going to bring that up on screen here. Bear with me one moment while we await confirmation of the actual landing, which we do believe has occurred at this time. This just released by Virgin Galactic. Almost like a series of stills, but it does show the release of the spacecraft from the mothership here. There it is attached, and then you can see release and engine ignition from it. So that's coming in from Virgin Galactic. Heading back to the live telemetry, based on the fact that that is continuing on a straight line, I will say that we do have touchdown confirmed of VSS Unity. We are waiting for that full confirmation from Virgin Galactic, but due to this straight line that you're seeing on telemetry, that's what we saw last time. It was in that final curve that it most likely did actually come down and land. We'll now transition to tracking the mothership. As you can see, it has done quite the journey during its flight, and it will now wait for them to clear the runway. VSS Unity lands, they have to hook it up and clear the runway for the mothership to actually be able to land back. At Spaceport America. I saw a super chat come in there. Tamir, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for your $5 super chat. Thanks for covering it. It'll be great if you can figure a way to show the altitude and vertical speed on both Mothership and Unity. Really great idea. We do want to try to work on that, Tamir. So I do appreciate that feedback, and we will see what we will be able to do here, hopefully in the near future. We do have some ways we can kind of loophole it. So wait till next time, which will hopefully be next month, for Galactic 5, and we'll hopefully be able to bring you some telemetry on screen. We're keeping now a track on the mothership while we await confirmation from Virgin Galactic of a good flight. We only 4 minutes ago got confirmation of release. We do believe VSS Unity has landed at Spaceport America. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, and subscribe so you never miss another live launch coverage here at the Launchpad. Here at TLP Network, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. This is only the first of 4 launches happening today. We are counting down to the next launch, T-minus 1 hour, 31 minutes and counting, until the launch of a ULA Atlas V from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, carrying the first 2 prototypes of Amazon's new Project Kuiper satellite constellation, a competitor to Starlink. The Kuiper constellation will be made up of 3,276 satellites in 98 different orbital planes and 3 orbital layers. So similar to Starlink, just a few less layers, a little bit higher in altitude, but excited to see those first 2 prototypes finally launch. We'll give Virgin Galactic just another minute or 2. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. And we'll work on answering those live while we wait for this final confirmation. But if we don't get it in the next couple of minutes, we will wrap it up there. If it was your first time here, though, welcome. We're really thrilled to have had you join us for our live coverage of Virgin Galactic's Galactic 4 mission, their 4th commercial flight, their 5th flight of 2023 after an almost year break. Great to see them continuing to fly. Lots of launches coming up this month. You can find out all of the upcoming launches at tlpnetwork.com/launches. I have, of course, a whole bunch of Starlinks. We have the launch of Psyche on Falcon Heavy, maybe Starship if they get their paperwork. We have a test flight of a new rocket out of Spain. We got 2 flights coming out of India. And we have the return of Blue Origin with New Shepard after over a year, also targeting launch later this year. We also have the return of Vega happening later today. So it is a month of many launches, not just Starlinks, and we hope that you will join us for those all right here on the Launchpad, because here at TLP Network, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you here. So engage that subscribe button if you haven't done so. And we do have a image from Virgin Galactic showing the crew on their flight. We'll patch this in here. This was just released by Virgin Galactic's media team via X. Very small photo, but we'll work on bringing it up to the best of our abilities here. And there's a view of the crew on board. This is astronauts 017, 018, and 019. Virgin Galactic saying, welcome to space. So the confirmation there of a good flight. VSS Unity should have touched down about 10 minutes or so ago at this point, about an hour mission complete. But that, I think, is going to do it for us here today. Make sure you're following Virgin Galactic and us on X for more updates as we get them, as they have a little bit of a delay on their social media updates. Also, make sure you join us over on our TLP Discord. That's where our community hangs out in between launches. And make sure you're following. And if you're interested in joining our team, head on over to tlpnetwork.com/about. Fill out that application. We'd love to invite some of you to become part of the TLP crew as moderators, researchers, and journalists. And we hope to welcome some of you onto that crew in the very near future as we gear up for a very busy last quarter of the year and an even busier 2024 as we get ready to launch the first people back to the moon in over 50 years. That's going to do it from us here at TLP Canada Studio for our first of 4 launches here today. We hope you'll join us in just over an hour for the launch of ULA's Atlas V from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. But for now, my name's Zach, and we'll see you next time because space is better together. We'll see you soon.